Hello and welcome to Nat Chat. I'm Mirella Rich. Today our guest is Jeremy Sampson, who is the Managing Director of the Time to Train Asperger's program. He was also diagnosed with Asperger's himself and is now a fitness trainer. Welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me back, Mirella.
It's good to have you back here. Now, we talked a lot about Asperger's and what you've been doing. You also went to Vancouver. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, look, I was happily representing Australia for the 6th Annual Naturally Autistic People Awards, which is an organisation that's basically helping promote the strengths and talents of people in the autistic community. So I was happy to go over there and I guess showcase the program and my own talents and abilities, and I was in the category for performing arts, which I happily came third in. I was very humbled to receive that, but I had the pleasure of certainly hosting that event, which was my main focus, is to get
you hosted it as well.
I had a great pleasure in doing that and meeting lots of like-minded individuals, and truly a great experience, definitely.
And you also studied, or you did acting for 5 years, like training, or what? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I just found it was a great release, I suppose, if I ever had some worries or wasn't quite coping with things. Drama and acting absolutely was a great way of just escaping for that moment, I suppose, and to put on a character's voice or to portray a different role and learning a script of lines. You know, it was all just real positive things that made me feel like I was going forward. So I had the pleasure of being in plays and theatre roles and things like that, and then doing that outside of school as well for a number of years. You know, that was all to help improve my articulation of words and vocabulary skills, and just feeling a lot more relaxed, but to network with others as well for that social interaction. So
yeah, and it's good for confidence building for anybody, isn't it?
Huge. Yeah. I can't stress enough the importance of certainly drama as something to adopt into the routine with for those with autism as a great way to improve further on those sorts of skills, definitely.
Because I did a bit of acting as well, studied acting, and the way you lose inhibitions is doing acting workshops.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you have to do the most foolish things in front of everybody.
You do.
And it's got to be really made fantastic, and it's foolish.
It's funny you say, like, and here you are now doing hosting roles. I from the early age of about 13, 14, was always interested at getting behind the camera and wanting to be a television host, and I think it was just that went back further in life from being a magician and wanting to put on the acts at home and come out from behind the curtain and show mum and dad some magic tricks. So, you know, I always wanted to get into the limelight, but all for a good reason and cause, and so again, going to Vancouver and having the luxury of hosting such a wonderful positive event to again give back and showcase the light on other people in the autism spectrum was a truly just unique and breathtaking experience, definitely.
And getting into relationships, say for a marriage relationship, say with someone without autism, married to someone with autism or Asperger's, how can they have a successful, happy marriage, would you say?
Ooh, good question. And we've really gone from one topic to another, but I think definitely, you know, the relationships between someone with autism and with someone without can be quite harmonious, can certainly be quite successful and feel no different to any other relationship out there in the world. It's really just about understanding and channeling your positive energy into trying to learn and understand that person that you're with, and making them aware, certainly in a positive, open, honest way, that you do function a bit differently, that you do respond and process things a little bit differently, but you mean well. And I think, like, common sense is a big part of just absolutely going along with things and making sure that you're always on top with the communication and understanding. Arguments between people with autism and people without autism can be a little bit more directed towards that person with autism. Oh, I can't stand you, you find you're too overbearing and you do this and you say that and it's just all wrong. I've experienced it all, so I've always managed to, again, take that as a learning curve and try my best to not fall back into that criteria of doing those sorts of typical autistic things, so that I can progress forward at trying to be, I suppose, a bit more of an understanding partner. So again, people with autism absolutely can go on to live a fully happy, understanding relationship full of love and honesty, and that can be everlasting.
That's beautiful to
Definitely.
hear. That's beautiful. And do you know many people with Asperger's or autism that are married, or have you heard?
Well, there
many
was a gentleman
stories?
that I worked with, funnily enough, that he wanted to definitely experience the dating and the relationships, and certainly one day marriage. And he worked with me for a couple of years, and we managed to get him up to that point where he was married for a period there, and and I suppose that the rest is history. But
A period there, does that mean he stopped, or?
Well, I think certainly had its ups and downs, just as any relationship. So, but I can only hope that certainly whatever has happened from then onwards, he's taken away and learnt from it. So could be certainly doing very well.
Is he married still?
I don't know. I really don't know, Marella. But again, as I say, people with autism can absolutely grow with their partner to certainly being married and having children, and it can be just as harmonious as any relationship out there.
I mean, it all comes down to loving in the end. Like we all have to be compassionate and loving with each other.
You really do.
World.
And as I say, communication is the key. Being committed and certainly compromise. You have autism, you function differently, and you've got to realise that sometimes your partner may not be able to cope with the certain things that come with autism. But if you work hard enough and you have that love between you two, you will work around and get back to being positive and happy together, and enjoying what's really important in that relationship.
Right, and you've had a few relationships as well, so how have they gone?
Yeah, I've had relationships that have been great. I've had relationships that have been not so great. But it's all been part of learning for me, and I wouldn't change it any other way, because when the relationships that weren't so positive and weren't so great, that it's helped me to certainly continually self-improve. So I do thank all of those women for those relationships that unfortunately didn't work, and wish them no ill hard feelings, but certainly I've gained so much from ones that have been fantastic, and that's all for my own self-benefit, I suppose.
You've learnt and grown through them.
Growth is important, absolutely.
Beautiful. We're about to go to a break now. You're watching Nat Chat. Hope you're enjoying the program. We'll be back with more very shortly. Hello and welcome back to Nat Chat. I'm Mirella Rich. Our guest is Jeremy Sampson, if you've just joined us, and he's the Managing Director of the Time to Train the Asperger's program. He also was diagnosed with Asperger's and has come to do great things in his life. Welcome back to the program.
Thanks, Mirella.
Now, we were talking a little bit off camera as well about the environment. How does the environment affect people with Asperger's or bring Asperger's on?
Well, I think certainly environment is probably a huge contributing factor to why we're seeing now the rise and epidemic, if you will, of more and more diagnoses of children with autism. So again, certainly hearing a lot of genetic and hereditary being absolutely number one, and I ask why. I had to go and thoroughly research and speak with some professionals in the industry of why is it always seemingly back on hereditary and genetic, and we're seeing that pattern. Environment of today, with all the technology, we're now 2015 as opposed to back in the 1950s and 60s, is very, very different. And lifestyle and food and minerals and exercise, the whole routine of life and the environment is so much different. So I feel that we are seeing the rise and increase in autism, Asperger's, purely because we're living in an environment that's far more stressful, far more busy, far more all of these things, and we're just seeing a more and more autistics are being unearthed, I suppose. They're finding it more difficult to cope, and stress in pregnancy is certainly another one that more and more professionals are leading towards. That it can have some changes in the brain functioning. So these are just all things that we've got to continually be aware of, I suppose. And we're seeing families that certainly may not have a history of autism or Asperger's that can all of a sudden start with a child that has a diagnosis. So we've got to take into all these factors, but it's in what we do in the environment, setting up the best environment for not only families and parents, but for our loved ones as well. That's going to really make all the difference.
And what do you recommend that they do if they're watching?
So what worked for me, definitely, Morella, was absolutely the first thing was being positive parents and never giving up attitude. Never giving up attitude, and being really supportive and hands-on and productive. Get on top of researching as much as you can about autism, Asperger's, and being hands-on. Don't be afraid to apply a bit of tough love. That certainly will go a long way. Exercise and stretch your child's abilities. Don't underestimate. Get them involved in activities and exercise. Time to train, brilliant.
Yeah.
And certainly continually give them positive reinforcement and as much life learning experience as possible.
And also get back to nature, isn't it? Like to get back to eating healthy fruit and vegetables.
You're
fresh
absolutely
fruit and vegetables.
right.
Get outside in the garden.
Absolutely. Get back to the real basics of what life should be about. Get some fresh air. Get some good, wholesome, natural foods into your diet. Get some more sleep and relax, take up things that make you feel a bit more calm and build on those coping skills, and definitely move your body and exercise and strengthen yourself, because that has such a significant amount of benefits on your body and brain.
That's right.
And putting it all together, doing it.
And also for others to have compassion and love towards other people, because that'll help them be more confident in themselves.
Absolutely. So again, that's all environment. We want to make sure that we're always embracing those situations. We're around loved ones and feeling really good and positive and taking that on board. But I think as well, I've certainly benefited even from when it's been negative environments. So taking that on as a learning experience. That's not who I want to be, but I've now learnt all of the negatives of what environments can do as well. So, stopping yourself from spending too much time in front of a computer, or stopping yourself from allowing your emotions, anger and all that to go to the extreme. So it's all management and getting right back to what makes us definitely feel good, and embracing that going forward always, definitely.
Beautiful. And also with fitness and health, exercising, it does make you feel a lot better anyway, doesn't it?
We know that. Absolutely number one for anyone is if
anyone.
we're just not feeling too good, or we want a bit more energy, hit the gym, go for a run, whatever it is, do it at home, I don't care. But we absolutely have seen a huge improvement certainly for people with autism, that just moving your body in non-overwhelming, doing very easy exercises, which is what Time to Train's all about, and having a lot of fun, that we're learning so much about building confidence as well as improving that coordination. And through that, I'm seeing these kids, one success story is definitely a child, 7, who absolutely couldn't kick a football or play football to save himself, now is going to be firmly involved in Auskick and can do all the skills as great, if not better, than other kids that don't have autism. So I hope to one day see Time to Train and the whole concept of exercise being a huge part in other sports that we want to get more and more children involved in.
That's beautiful. And do you ever have difficulty motivating yourself to train?
I have had sometimes a bit of trouble in getting myself in, but I do the best I can. I'm so busy at the moment trying to give back to others that I can get a bit sidetracked in giving back to myself. But I guess I do get involved in the session with my students as well, and doing the exercises as well. So I find that they can run me off my feet, in fact, and it's really good that I sometimes do motivate myself to get back in and stay fit and strong, just to to be that fitness role model and keep inspiring others to staying on that positive routine with me. Yeah.
And you also, I think, you had someone as well that you trained through Skype. Was that the one with the Auskick, or was that someone else?
Oh no, yeah, but certainly another success story was through Skype, and they were a lovely family that still are on board. In fact, that after a significant amount of time of doing Skype sessions, that they've stepped away from the medication. And he is now definitely getting out there and socialising and embracing friends and making them so easily, and he's enjoying living life without having to depend on medication anymore. So I believe that medication is there as a tool in some extreme cases, but over time, if we're adopting the full routine, we can definitely go back to enjoying life and going forward. Definitely.
Beautiful. About to go to a break now. You're watching Nat Chat. Hope you're enjoying the program. Stay with us. We'll be back with more very shortly. Hello and welcome back to Nat Chat. I'm Mirella Rich. If you've just joined us, we're here with Jeremy Sampson, who is the Managing Director of the Time to Train the Asperger's Program. Welcome back to the program.
Thanks, Mirella.
Now, can you tell us a little bit, we were talking a bit off camera about famous people who have Asperger's and are doing quite successfully in their life and marriages. Can you list some of the people we know that have already come out and said that they've got Asperger's?
Yeah, look, a couple of names that roll off the top of my head is certainly suspected to have Asperger's is none other than Bill Gates and Microsoft. I think the achievements of what he's done there in the industry are extraordinary. So,
but he's suspected.
He's certainly suspected of definitely having autism, Asperger's, and then we roll into other celebrities such as Daryl Hannah, that certainly has come out from Kill Bill, the movie actress, and her life and challenges of dealing with autism and Asperger's are not too dissimilar from many others in the autism spectrum. Susan Boyle, who obviously was a champion singer in Britain's Got Talent, and we could see there was some really characteristics there that certainly fell into that criteria. But she's now come forward and had that diagnosis and now living life in a more positive light.
And she has Asperger's, does she?
Yes, the articles and the reports that came out from herself read that she knew she was always different, and now she's aiming to new heights in understanding more about herself. So, Dan Aykroyd was another that certainly came out and said that there's Tourette's and autism there. So it's just really quite remarkable and amazing that we're seeing a lot of these really inspiring, amazing achievers in whatever industry from A to Z that have gone on to come out and or certainly be suspected of having autism, Asperger's.
Beautiful. It's quite amazing, isn't it?
Definitely.
And also, you've got a new program you're running, which is going to be for 15 to 30-year-olds. Can you tell us about that? Yeah,
I guess the Time to Train was the platform, and then of course I realised there's another crack in the autism loop here, and that is that the teenagers to the young adults from 15 to that 30 bracket, that they aren't quite getting the full support in what they truly need. So it's sort of a branch away from Time to Train and more into more of a guidance and mentoring type role. So I called it the Loop program, as it being the 4 stages to certainly helping a teenager or a young adult to go on and lead a productive, positive life, and certainly independence. So L for learning, U for understanding, P for practicing, and E for experiencing. I think when you juggle those 4 and intertwine them all, that's really the critical key steps into certainly getting teenagers and young adults all going forward in achieving life skills that they need to have to live the better life, I suppose, the more positive life. And
I know you're very humble and you don't like to blow your own trumpet, but I think it's important to let people know of the awards you've been winning and coming in contact with?
As you say, I couldn't be any more humble. Like I'm just, I know that the hard work I've certainly put into my passion and career is about helping others. But it's just lovely, I suppose, to every now and then get a bit of recognition. So I was very humble last year to receive a 2014 award at the International Naturally Autistic event for entrepreneur. So I think that we all need to improve and be a bit more entrepreneurial. And
where was that award? Where did you?
At Edinburgh, Scotland. Edinburgh,
beautiful.
Scotland.
Wow.
Yeah, certainly a distance.
So you had to fly over there?
Flew over and did that all on my own. Funnily enough, I didn't know how I was going to cope on an aeroplane all the way over, but managed it quite fine. No drama.
Yeah.
As I say, this year it was a third place in performing arts at the 6th annual event. Yep. And again, just the
that was in Vancouver?
That was in Vancouver. Yeah. And look, as I say, it's lovely when newspapers want to approach and put a story, or a radio team want to have me on radio to talk about health, fitness and autism. So I'm very honoured to certainly continually put the word out there about the program and my story, and to continually inspire the community.
And tell us about the radio show, because you're still doing the radio show, aren't you?
I still, still do at the moment. It's just been wonderful to get on air and each week talk about health, fitness and how to help the community and just improving their lives a little bit more. And then every now and then talking about autism as well, and how exercise, again, makes such a huge benefit. So,
and what's that radio program?
That's the 3WBC crew in Box Hill. So they've been lovely and found out about me through, again, the local leader newspaper. So I'm very glad to be on board at 3WBC.
Oh, so you're on the local leader newspaper as well?
Yes, just on and off here and there. I certainly happily approach and talk about a new breakthrough I've achieved in my program, or just again talking more about the significant benefits of moving the body and getting right down to the primitive movements that these kids struggle with, and let's build them from the ground up, not get them thinking up top, down below. We need to really do all the groundwork and start from the basics, and we can do that in a fun and comfortable environment with a very assertive and understanding approach, which is where I come in, I suppose, definitely.
And how did the Herald Sun get in contact with you? How did that all happen?
So the Herald Sun, they did a huge, lovely, wonderful article last year, which again, it was, I actually also got into Fitness First magazine, and the editor of Fitness First also does articles for Body and Soul. So it was a quick just contact and email, and I happily sat down and was putting my honest word forward about who I am and what I do and how far I've come, and it just was an amazing story that went nationwide in every leading national newspaper.
That's
so
amazing.
that was quite an overwhelming positive experience, definitely.
So you've got your name out there in quite a few things.
I've got the name out there, and people are remembering Time to Train now a lot more, and my exercise DVDs are another tool as well to certainly get the program into the comfort of the people's lounge rooms, so they can start the Time to Train experience.
Well, we've run out of time, unfortunately, but it's been good. Really wonderful.
Thank you very much for having me on the show, Marilla.
There's still lots more we could have covered, like perfectionist attitudes, and that's...
Well, always.
Just quickly, maybe sum up that one.
Well, certainly, I guess perfectionism is definitely a big part of autism, because they just want to feel good about doing something right and not making any mistakes and errors. So that confidence, again, of knowing they're on the right track with doing something is part of the perfectionism. But again, it's about acknowledging that when we don't quite always get it right, that's okay too. We just got to learn from it and go forward. Beautifully said. Thank you so much for coming on the program. My pleasure. You've been watching Nat Chat. I hope you enjoyed the program. Our guest was Jeremy Sampson, and I'm Mirella Rich. See you again soon.